Application controls are procedures that deal with potential exposures that threaten applications. There are three categories of application controls. These are input, processing, and output controls. So let us start with the input controls, which ensure that the transactions are valid, accurate, and complete. Under input controls, there are two data input procedures. First one is the source document input, or tracing documents back to their source. Since it requires human intervention, it is prone to clerical errors. The other one is the direct input. It employs real-time editing techniques to reduce the number of. So here are the classes of input control. First is source document controls. These are used to prevent fraud, such as when employee fabricates a purchase transaction to a non-existent supplier. To manage source documents properly, source documents should be pre-numbered with a unique sequential number. They should be distributed to users and used in sequence. And it should be audited to identify missing source documents. The second is data coding controls. It checks the integrity of data codes used in processing. Check digit, an example, is a control digit added to the code when it is originally assigned. There are two common errors: transcription errors, which can be either classified as addition error, truncation error, or omission error, and substitution error. Transposition errors, which can either be single or multiple. The third one is the batch control. It is a method to manage high volumes of transaction data. Its objective is to ensure that outputs reconcile with the inputs originally entered into the system. To accomplish it, a batch transmittal sheet and a batch control log is needed. The clerk enters the batch control information in the control log and submits it along with the transmittal sheet to the data entry department. The third one is the validation controls. It is intended to detect errors before the data are processed. We have three levels of input validation control. The field interrogation, wherein characteristics of data in a field examined. Record interrogation, which involves procedures that validate records by examining the interrelationship of its field values. File interrogation, which ensures that the correct file is being processed by the system. Fifth is the input error correction. When errors are detected in a batch, they must be corrected and the records resubmitted for reprocessing. There are three common error handling techniques. First, correct immediately. Second, create an error file. The records flagged as errors are removed from the batch and placed in a temporary error holding file. Third, reject the batch. Some errors are associated with the entire batch and are not clearly attributable to individual records, so it is better to reject the whole. Lastly is the generalized data input system. It manages the data input for all the organization transactions processing systems. It improves control by having a common system and improves system development efficiency. It has five major components. First, the generalized validation model. It performs standard validation routines that are customized according to an individual's applications, which are common to different applications. Second, validated data file. It is a temporary holding file through which validated data by the GVM are stored. Third, error file. Error records detected during validation are stored in this file. Fourth, error reports, which facilitated error correction. And the last component is the transaction log. It is a permanent record of all valid transactions. Lastly is the generalized data input system. It manages the data input for all the organization transactions processing systems. It improves control by having a common system and improves system development efficiency. It has five major components. First, the generalized validation. So here are the processing controls. The run-to-run controls. It uses batch figures to monitor the batch as it moves one procedure to another. The uses of run-to-run controls includes recalculation of control total. After a major operation and after each run, record counts are accumulated and compared to corresponding values in the control record to ensure that discrepancies will be revealed. The transaction codes. Transaction codes ensures that only the correct transaction is processed by comparing the codes of each record to those contained in the control record. Sequence checks. It compares the sequence of each record in the batch with the previous record to ensure that proper sorting took place. The second one is the operator intervention controls. Systems sometimes require operator intervention to initiate certain actions. Since operator intervention increases the potential to prone errors, parameter values and programs start points should be logically derived. Third, audit trail controls. Every transaction must be traceable through each stage of processing. Here are the examples of techniques: transaction logs, log of automatic transactions, listing of automatic transactions, unit transaction identifiers, and the error list. Output control. It ensures that system output is not lost, misdirected, or corrupted, and privacy is not violated. Exposure of this sort leads to serious disruptions to operations and financial losses. For example, if the checks produced by the firm's cash disbursements system are lost, misdirected, or destroyed, trade accounts and other bills may go unpaid. The firm may affect their credit rating and may not also collect interest and penalties from the affected transaction. The type of processing method in use influences the choice of controls employed to protect system. Controlling batch systems output. The batch system, it usually produces output in the form of hard copy, which requires the involvement of intermediaries in its production and distribution. The different stages in the output process. Each stages in this process is a point of potential exposure where the output could be reviewed, stolen, copied, or misdirected. These are techniques for controlling each stages in the output process, but not all techniques will necessarily apply to every item of output produced by the system. The output spooling, wherein the applications are often designed to direct their output to a magnetic disk file rather than to the printer directly. The auditor should ensure that proper access and backup procedures are in place to protect the print programs. It produces hard copy output from the output file and often complex systems that require operator intervention. Print programs controls are designed to deal with two types of exposures: the production of unauthorized copies of outputs and the employee browsing of sensitive data. To prevent operators from viewing sensitive output, a special multi-part paper can be used. The top copy colored block to prevent the print from being read. The bursting, wherein the output reports are removed from the printer, then the pages are separated and collated. Under this stage, bursting clerk may make an authorized copy of the report, remove a part of the report, or read the sensitive information and the primary control in this exposure. Waste. Computer output waste represents a potential exposure. Computer criminals may obtain a key piece of information about the firm's market research or even trade secrets that they can sell to a competitor due to improper bursting. Passing it through a paper shredder can easily destroy sensitive computer output. Data control. Data control group is responsible for verifying the accuracy of computer output before it is distributed to the user. Report distribution. The primary risk associated with report distribution include reports being lost, stolen, or misdirected in transit to the user. For highly sensitive reports, the following distribution techniques can be used. The reports may be placed in a secure mailbox to which only the user has key. The user may be required to appear in person at the distribution center and sign for the report. A security officer or special carrier may deliver the report to the user. And user controls. Output reports should be re-examined for any errors that may have evaded the data control clerk's review. Errors detected by the user should be reported to the appropriate computer service management. Testing computer application controls. There are two general approaches: the black box approach and the white. The black box approach. It is a method of software testing that examines the functionality of an application without peering into its internal structures or workings. The white box approach. It is a method of testing software that tests internal structures or workings of an application as opposed to its functionality. Some of the common types of test controls are authenticity tests, which verify that an individual, a program procedure, or a message such as an EDI transmission attempting to access a system is authentic. Authenticity controls include user IDs, password, valid vendor codes, and authority tables. The accuracy test, which ensure that the system processes only data values that conform to specified tolerances. Examples include range test, field test, and limit test. The completeness test, which identify missing data within a single record and entire records missing from batch. The types of tests performed are field test, record sequence test, hash totals, and control. The access test, which ensures that applications prevents authorized users from unauthorized access to data. Access controls include passwords, authority tables, user-defined procedures, data encryption, and inference controls. The audit trail test, which ensures that applications creates an adequate audit trail. This includes evidence that the application records all transactions in a transaction logs, posts data values to the appropriate accounts, produces complete transaction listing, and generate error files and reports for all exceptions. The rounding error test, which verify the correctness of rounding procedures. Rounding errors occurs in accounting information when the level of precision used in the calculation is greater than that used in the reporting. Computer-aided audit tools and techniques or CAATTs for testing controls. The test data method. It used to establish application integrity by processing especially prepared sets of input data through a production applications that are under review. Integrated test facility. It is an automated technique that enables the auditor to test an application's logic and controls during its normal operation. The parallel simulation requires the auditor to write a program that simulates key features or processes of the application under review. The simulated application is then used to reprocess transactions that were previously processed by the production application.